Ladies and gentlemen, listen up. I need you to hear me today, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Because what I'm about to tell you might just be the wake-up call you've been waiting for. See, life ain't waiting on you. Life don't care about your excuses. Life don't care about your fears. Life don't care about how comfortable you are. The clock is ticking, and the question is, are you going to keep hitting snooze, or are you finally going to wake up and make a change? Some of y'all been stuck in the same situation for years. Same job you hate. Same toxic relationships. Same bad habits. You keep saying, one day I'm going to get it together. One day I'm going to chase my dream. But let me tell you something. One day ain't on the calendar. If you don't decide to change today, then what makes you think tomorrow is going to be any different? Life has a funny way of moving forward, whether we're ready or not. Every single day, the sun rises, time moves, and the world keeps turning, but some of us are still asleep, still stuck in the same old patterns, still waiting for something magical to happen before we decide to move. We keep hitting snooze, not just on our alarms, but on our dreams, our goals, and our potential. We tell ourselves, just a little longer, just one more day. I'll start next week. I'll change next month. And before we know it, years have passed and we're still in the same place, wondering why nothing has changed. It's not that we don't want better. It's not that we don't have the desire to grow, to achieve, to become something greater than we are right now. It's that comfort is a powerful thing. Comfort convinces us that where we are is good enough, even when deep down we know we were made for more. Comfort whispers that change is too hard, too risky, too uncertain. And so we stay. We stay in jobs we hate. We stay in relationships that drain us. We stay in habits that harm us. Not because we want to, but because the idea of change feels overwhelming. But here's the truth. Every time you hit snooze on your life, you are making a decision to settle, a decision to stay stuck, a decision to waste the time you've been given. And time, that's the one thing you don't get back. You can make more money, you can build new relationships, you can fix mistakes, but you cannot rewind time. Once it's gone, it's gone. And the saddest thing in the world is looking back and realizing that you had every opportunity to change, but you kept pushing it off for later, for tomorrow, for the right time that never actually came. Excuses are easy. We tell ourselves that we're waiting for the right moment, the right circumstances, the right opportunity. But in reality, what we're really waiting for is permission to believe in ourselves. We wait for some sign, some outside force to push us into action. But no one is coming to do it for you. No one is going to show up, grab you by the hand, and lead you into the life you've been dreaming about. That's on you. That's your job. The people who succeed, the people who make it, the people who break free from their old lives and step into something better, they aren't necessarily the smartest, the luckiest, or the most talented. They are the ones who made a decision. They got tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of watching life pass them by while they sat on the sidelines, and one day they just got up. They just started. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't have everything figured out, but they understood that waiting wasn't going to get them anywhere. And let's be honest, how many times have you told yourself you were going to change? How many times have you made promises to yourself that you didn't keep? You said you were going to start that business. You said you were going to leave that toxic relationship. You said you were going to get in shape, save money, follow your passion, stop wasting time, and yet here you are, still saying the same thing, still making the same excuses, still waiting for something outside of you to force you into action. Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you keep doing what you've always done, you will keep getting what you've always gotten. You can't pray for growth while clinging to comfort. You can't ask for a better life while refusing to make better choices. You can't expect change when you're still pressing snooze on the very things that could transform your life. You have the power, you always have. But power means nothing if you don't use it. Talent means nothing if you don't develop it. Opportunities mean nothing if you don't take them. You don't need another sign. You don't need more motivation. You don't need more time. You need to wake up, you need to get up, and you need to make a decision right now to stop delaying, stop stalling, stop playing small, and start stepping into what's meant for you. We love to say, one day I'll do it. One day I'll chase my dream. One day I'll start that business. One day I'll get in shape. One day I'll leave this toxic situation. But the problem is, one day is a fantasy. It's a comfortable illusion we create to make ourselves feel better about not taking action today. It tricks us into believing that change is still possible without requiring us to do anything right now. It keeps us in a cycle of waiting, delaying, and hoping while time continues to move forward without us. Think about it. How many times have you said, I'll start Monday? Monday comes and goes, and suddenly it's next Monday, then next month, then next year. We keep pushing our goals further into the future, convincing ourselves that some perfect moment will arrive when everything feels right. But that moment never comes. There will never be a day when everything is easy, when all fears disappear, when all obstacles vanish, when motivation is endless. The truth is, if you aren't willing to take action now, you won't be willing to take action later. People wait for motivation thinking that one day they will wake up with this unstoppable energy to change their life. But motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes like the weather. If you rely on motivation, you'll always be waiting. What you need is discipline, commitment, and a decision. A decision that no matter how you feel, no matter how tired you are, no matter how scared you are, you will take a step forward. You will do what needs to be done today, not tomorrow, not when you feel like it, not when the timing is perfect, because perfect timing is a myth. The most successful people in the world don't wait for inspiration to hit them. They don't wait until they feel ready. They understand that success comes from consistency, from showing up even when it's hard, from doing what needs to be done even when they don't feel like it. They take action now because they know that waiting only leads to regret. Look back at the last 5 years of your life. How many things did you say you were going to do that you never did? How many dreams did you let sit on the shelf? How many goals did you abandon because you told yourself you get to them one day? And here's the real question. How much further could you be right now if you had just started when you first thought about it? It's not that you don't have time. You have the same 24 hours as everybody else. It's that you keep giving your time to things that don't move you forward. You scroll for hours, you binge watch shows, you procrastinate on things that matter. You say you're too busy, but when you really look at it, you're not busy, you're just choosing comfort over progress. And as long as you keep making that choice, nothing will change. Fear plays a big role in this. We don't take action because we're afraid of failing. We don't start because we're afraid we're not good enough, that we don't have what it takes. So we push it off thinking that if we wait long enough, the fear will go away. But fear never leaves. You don't outgrow fear. You learn to move through it. The only way to build confidence, to get better, to become the person you want to be, is to start before you're ready. People say they're waiting for a sign, but how many signs do you need? Every day you wake up is a sign. Every moment you feel stuck is a sign. Every time you think about changing your life but don't do anything about it, that's a sign. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You already know what's holding you back. The problem isn't knowing, the problem is doing. Excuses will always be there if you look for them. There will always be reasons to wait, always obstacles in the way, always something that makes it inconvenient to start now. But people who win in life don't wait for circumstances to be perfect. They work with what they have. They start where they are. They make mistakes. They fail. They learn. But they keep moving because they know that one day is just another way of saying never. Fear has a way of keeping people trapped in the same place for years, sometimes even for a lifetime. It whispers doubts in your ear, making you believe that stepping into the unknown is too risky, too difficult, too unpredictable. It convinces you that staying where you are is safer, easier, and more comfortable. And that's the problem, comfort. Comfort feels good in the moment, but in the long run, it becomes a prison. It keeps you from growing, from evolving, from reaching the potential that's inside of you. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they never try. They never step outside of what's familiar. They never take a chance on themselves. They get so used to their routine, so used to the way things are, that they convince themselves change is unnecessary. But deep down, they know better. Deep down, they feel that pull, that voice inside them that says, there's more for you. The problem is they silence that voice with fear. Fear makes you second guess yourself. It makes you question whether you're good enough, whether you have what it takes, whether you deserve more. And so you sit on your dreams, you ignore your goals, and you watch other people live the life you wish you had, not because they're better than you, not because they have more talent or luck, but because they refused to let fear stop them. They felt fear, but they moved anyway. Every time you let fear make your decisions, you are choosing to stay stuck. You are choosing to give up on yourself before you even try. You are choosing to settle for less than what you're capable of. And settling might feel okay for a while, but eventually it leads to regret. You start wondering what could have been, what you could have achieved if only you had been brave enough to take that first step. And regret, that's a pain worse than fear. Fear of failure is one of the biggest lies people believe. The truth is, failing is not the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that can happen is never trying at all. When you fail, you learn, you grow, you figure out what works and what doesn't. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you can count. The difference is they didn't let failure define them. They didn't see it as a reason to quit. They saw it as a lesson, as a stepping stone, as part of the journey. Fear of judgment holds people back just as much as fear of failure. Too many people worry about what others will think. They don't chase their dreams because they're afraid of being laughed at, afraid of being criticized, afraid of looking foolish. But let's be real, people are going to judge you no matter what you do. If you play it safe and stay where you are, people will have something to say. If you take a risk and chase something bigger, people will have something to say. So if judgment is inevitable, why not do what makes you happy? Why not go after what you really want? Fear convinces you that you need certainty before you take action, that you need to know exactly how things will turn out. But that's impossible. No one ever has all the answers before they start. No one ever knows exactly how the journey will unfold. But they start anyway. They take that first step even when they're unsure, even when they're afraid, because they understand that clarity comes from action, not from waiting. Fear will always be there. It doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It doesn't go away just because you wish it would. The only way to overcome fear is to face it, to do the thing you're afraid of, to step into the unknown, even when your hands are shaking, even when your heart is pounding, even when your mind is filled with doubts. Because once you take that step, you realize something. Fear was never as powerful as you thought it was. It only had control over you because you let it. It only had power because you gave it permission. Every great achievement, every major breakthrough, every incredible success story started with someone who was afraid but did it anyway. Someone who refused to let fear be the reason they didn't try. Someone who decided that staying the same was more painful than taking a chance. Fear is a trap, but only if you let it be. The moment you decide to push through it, to move despite it, to take action in the face of it, is the moment you take control of your life again. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you the life you dream about. Nobody is going to wake you up one day and say, here it is, everything you've ever wanted. That's your job. Your success, your happiness, your growth, your future, it's all on you. The moment you understand that, everything changes. Because as long as you keep waiting for someone else to do it for you, as long as you keep blaming other people, as long as you keep making excuses, you will stay exactly where you are. People waste so much time complaining about their circumstances, talking about how unfair life is, pointing fingers at everything and everyone except themselves. And sure, maybe life hasn't been fair. Maybe you didn't get the best start. Maybe you've had obstacles that others didn't. But the truth is, none of that changes the fact that your life is still your responsibility. No one is going to feel sorry for you and suddenly hand you a new life. No one is going to show up and magically fix everything for you. If you want something different, you have to do something different. Too many people sit around waiting for permission to be great, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for someone to encourage them, to validate them, to tell them it's okay to chase their dreams. But if you keep waiting for permission, you'll be waiting forever. The only permission you need is your own. The only person who can decide when it's time to change your life is you. You don't need someone else to believe in you. You need to believe in yourself. You don't need someone else to push you. You need to push yourself. Because at the end of the day, nobody is as invested in your future as you are. People may love you, they may support you, they may even want the best for you, but they're not going to do the work for you. That's on you. If you're not where you want to be, take a hard look at the choices you've made, because every decision you've ever made has led you to this moment. Every habit, every action, every excuse, every opportunity you did or didn't take. It all added up to the life you have right now. And if you don't like where you are, that means it's time to make different choices. It means it's time to stop blaming your circumstances and start taking control. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to say, I didn't have the same chances as other people. It's easy to say, I didn't get the right support. It's easy to say I wasn't given the same opportunities. But successful people don't focus on what they didn't have. They focus on what they can do with what they have. They don't sit around feeling sorry for themselves. They don't waste time complaining about what's missing. They take what they have and they make it work. There are people out there who started with nothing, who had every reason to quit, who faced challenges bigger than you can imagine, but they made it anyway. Not because someone handed them success, not because they got lucky, but because they refused to give up. They refused to sit around and wait for things to change. They went out and made it happen. Nobody is going to come to your door and deliver success to you. You have to go out and get it. You have to show up every day and put in the work, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're tired, even when it seems like nothing is happening. That's the difference between people who succeed and people who don't. Successful people don't wait for life to change. They change their life. Your excuses are not special. Your fears are not unique. Everyone has doubts. Everyone has struggles. Everyone has reasons to quit. But winners push through. Winners take responsibility. Winners understand that success isn't given, it's earned. And the only person who can earn it for you is you. Not everyone is going to support you. Not everyone is going to believe in your dreams. Not everyone is going to clap for you when you decide to change. And that's okay. Too many people let the opinions of others keep them stuck. They let doubt, criticism, and negativity from people around them hold them back from going after what they really want. They shrink themselves to fit in. They play small to avoid making others uncomfortable. They silence their own dreams just to keep the peace. But at the end of the day, it's not their life, it's yours. When you start making moves, when you start working on yourself, when you start leveling up, people are going to have something to say. Some will doubt you, some will try to discourage you, some will question why you're even trying, not because they truly care about you, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable. When you change, you force others to look at themselves. And some people don't want to do that. Some people would rather see you stay the same because it makes them feel better about where they are. You have to understand that not everyone in your life is meant to go with you to the next level. Some people are only meant to be in your life for a season. And that's one of the hardest lessons to learn. When you grow, you will outgrow people. When you elevate, you will leave some people behind. It doesn't mean you don't care about them. It doesn't mean you think you're better than them. It just means you're choosing your future over their comfort. It means you're refusing to stay in the same place just to make other people feel secure. There will be people who laugh at your dreams. There will be people who tell you it's impossible. There will be people who remind you of every time you've failed in the past. trying to convince you that you'll fail again. But those people don't define you. Their opinions don't determine your future. Their doubts don't limit what you're capable of. The only thing that matters is what you believe. Some of the people closest to you will be the ones who doubt you the most. Family, friends, even people you've known your whole life may not support your vision, not because they want to hurt you, but because they can't see what you see. They are looking at you through the lens of who you've always been, not who you are becoming. They remember your mistakes, your weaknesses, your past failures, and they assume that's all you'll ever be. But you are not your past, you are not your mistakes, you are not limited by what other people think you can do. You can't spend your life trying to prove people wrong. You can't waste your energy arguing with people who don't believe in you. You can't spend your time begging for support from people who were never meant to be part of your journey. Let your success be your response. Let your growth be your answer. Let your results speak for themselves. You have to be okay with walking alone sometimes. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to be okay with people thinking you've changed, because you have. Growth requires change. Elevation requires separation. If you spend your life trying to stay connected to everyone, you will end up losing yourself in the process. The truth is, the people who are meant for you will support you. The right people will see your vision, even if they don't fully understand it. The right people will celebrate your growth, not try to hold you back. The right people will push you forward, not pull you down. And if someone in your life can't handle your growth, that's their issue, not yours. You can't afford to let small-minded people talk you out of big dreams. You can't let fear of judgment stop you from stepping into your purpose. You can't let the opinions of others hold more weight than your own belief in yourself. Because at the end of the day, the people who doubted you won't have to live with the regret of you not chasing your dreams. You will. Excuses will keep you exactly where you are. They will convince you that it's okay to settle, that it's okay to wait, that it's okay to put off the things you know you should be doing. Excuses sound good in the moment. They sound logical, they sound reasonable, they make you feel justified in your inaction. But when you look back on your life, you're not going to remember the excuses. You're going to remember the opportunities you missed, the chances you didn't take, the moments you let fear or doubt talk you out of moving forward. People are experts at making excuses. They say they don't have enough time, but they waste hours scrolling on their phone or watching TV. They say they don't have enough money, but they spend on things that don't add value to their future. They say they don't have enough experience, but they never take the first step to gain any. The truth is, excuses are just a way to avoid discomfort, because change is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Pushing yourself to do something new is uncomfortable, but so is regret, so is staying stuck, so is waking up years from now and realizing you let your own excuses hold you back. The most dangerous excuses are the ones that sound reasonable. I'm too old to start over. I'm too young to be taken seriously. I don't have the right connections. I don't know where to start. These excuses sound logical, but they're not the real problem. The real problem is the fear underneath them. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of looking foolish, the fear of putting in the effort and not seeing results right away. But every person who has ever achieved something great had those same fears. The difference is they didn't let them win. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be a time when everything lines up exactly right, when you feel 100% ready, when there are no risks, no doubts, no unknowns. And that's why you have to start anyway. You have to take action despite the fear, despite the uncertainty, despite the discomfort. Because if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, you will be waiting forever. People say they'll start tomorrow, but when tomorrow comes, they find another excuse. They say they'll start next week, next month, next year, but the pattern continues, and before they know it, years have gone by and they're still stuck in the same place, still making the same excuses, still telling themselves the same lies about why they haven't moved forward. Excuses are nothing more than lies we tell ourselves to justify our lack of action. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to call yourself out when you catch yourself making excuses. You have to be honest with yourself about whether you're really too busy, too broke, too inexperienced, or if you're just avoiding the discomfort of taking that first step. Because once you strip away the excuses, all that's left is a decision. A decision to either take action or stay the same. A decision to either push forward or give up before you even try. The people who succeed are not the ones who had perfect circumstances. They're the ones who refuse to accept their excuses. They're the ones who found a way even when the odds were against them. They're the ones who started with what they had, who worked with what was in front of them, who made progress even when it was slow. They didn't wait for things to be easy because they knew that waiting was just another way of avoiding responsibility. Excuses are comfortable, but comfort doesn't lead to success. Comfort keeps you stuck. Comfort keeps you repeating the same patterns, living the same life, settling for less than you're capable of. The moment you stop accepting your own excuses is the moment everything changes. The moment you decide to take responsibility for your own life, for your own choices, for your own future, it's the moment you take back control. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that changed my life the moment I understood it. When you value yourself, you only attract what aligns with that value. See, the problem with many of us is we walk around waiting for somebody else to validate who we are. But the truth is, the way people treat you is directly connected to how you treat yourself. You can't expect royalty treatment when you act like a doormat in your own life. You teach people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. That simple truth right there is something that can completely transform the way you experience life, relationships, work, and even how you see yourself. Most people walk around wondering why they're always being overlooked, disrespected, or undervalued. But the answer isn't always in the other person's actions. It's in your own reflection. The way you carry yourself, the boundaries you set, and the standards you hold in your everyday life silently send a message to the world about how you expect to be treated. If you allow people to walk all over you, speak down to you, or take advantage of you without standing up for yourself, you're sending a clear message that it's okay. People will always push as far as they're allowed to. That's just human nature. But when you begin to treat yourself like you matter, when you make decisions that honor your time, your energy, your heart, and your peace, others are forced to rise to that level or walk away. It all starts with the way you see yourself in private. If you constantly talk negatively to yourself, criticize every move you make, or tell yourself you're not enough, you're building a foundation of self-worth that is shaky and unstable. And when people come into your life, they'll reflect that energy right back to you. They'll sense you don't respect yourself, and they'll respond accordingly through manipulation, disrespect, or neglect. But if you shift that inner dialogue to one that's affirming, loving, and honest, you'll slowly start to build a self-image that demands better. You'll begin to expect more, not just from other people, but from life itself. And when you hold yourself to a higher standard, you stop accepting anything less than what you truly deserve. It's not just about what you say, it's also in your actions. When you prioritize your mental health, your goals, your self-care, and your growth, you're showing the world that you are valuable. When you walk away from toxic environments, refuse to engage in drama, and choose peace over chaos, you're telling people that your well-being comes first. That kind of energy doesn't go unnoticed. People may not say it out loud, but they feel it. They know they can't just treat you any type of way. They realize that you're not someone who will stay where you're not appreciated. And that realization either makes people step up or step out. Sometimes we think being kind means tolerating everything, but being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. Real kindness starts with how you treat yourself. You can't pour love into others when you're running on empty. You can't keep giving chances to people who show you time and again that they don't value you. Eventually, you've got to decide that your peace is more important than pleasing people. You've got to understand that love without respect isn't real love. And once you make that shift, you'll start to notice a difference in the way people talk to you, show up for you, and include you. When you show up in the world with self-respect, confidence, and peace, people either match that energy or remove themselves from your life. And both outcomes are a win. Because when you treat yourself with value, you stop entertaining relationships and environments that drain you. You begin to walk in rooms knowing you belong there. You begin to speak with clarity and power. You begin to make decisions based on your worth, not your wound. You teach your children, your friends, your coworkers, even strangers how to approach. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for who you are. You walk in alignment with your purpose. You teach people that if they want to be in your life, they must bring respect, honesty, and value. Because that's exactly what you bring to yourself. When you value yourself, your circle changes. Fewer people, but more genuine ones. Life has a funny way of rearranging itself the moment you start treating yourself with the respect and worth you've always deserved. People often fear loneliness, but what they don't understand is that the real danger lies in being surrounded by people who don't truly see your value. When you begin to see your own worth, something powerful happens. You start to filter out everything and everyone that no longer aligns with that higher version of you. Suddenly, you no longer find comfort in shallow conversations, temporary friendships, or people who only love the convenient parts of you. Instead, you crave depth, truth, and connection that speaks to your soul. You begin to lose tolerance for people who drain your energy, belittle your dreams, or show up only when it's beneficial for them. This process isn't always pretty. In fact, at first, it can feel like you're losing everyone. People you used to laugh with, spend time with, or confide in may slowly begin to distance themselves. Some relationships might even fall apart without a single argument. That's because when your standards rise, some people won't be able to reach you anymore. Not because you're better than them, but because you're no longer willing to lower yourself to places that don't serve your growth. When you begin to value your peace, your time, your energy, you stop saying yes just to keep the peace. You stop showing up for people who wouldn't even notice if you didn't. You start protecting your space like it's sacred, because it is. There's a major difference between being alone and being in alignment. Being alone while knowing your worth feels a whole lot better than being surrounded by people who make you feel lonely in their presence. You start realizing that it's better to have 2 or 3 people in your corner who genuinely love and support you than to have a crowd full of people who only show up for the good times. You begin to attract those who resonate with your energy, your growth, and your heart. These are the ones who celebrate your wins, sit with you in your losses, and hold space for the real you, flaws and all. These are the people who don't feel threatened by your light, but inspired by it. And the beautiful part is, you no longer have to chase these connections. They come naturally when you've done the work to understand your own value. As you evolve, so does your circle. You stop needing validation from people who can't see past your past. You no longer seek approval from people who are uncomfortable with your success. You become okay with saying no, even if it disappoints someone. You become okay with silence, because silence is better than noise that leads nowhere. You learn to listen to your intuition, to honor your boundaries, and to protect your energy. That's when your circle starts reflecting your growth. Fewer people, yes, but every one of them will feel like a blessing. The truth is, not everyone is meant to walk with you forever. Some people are seasonal, and their time in your life was just that, a time, not a lifetime. But when you start valuing yourself, you begin to recognize who is genuine and who is just convenient. You no longer hold on to people out of guilt or history. You let go with grace, knowing that your future is too important to be cluttered with connections that keep you stuck. You become more intentional with your time, your love, your loyalty. You no longer waste energy trying to convince people of your worth. You simply live in a way that reflects it, and those meant for you will never need convincing. Self-worth attracts respect, opportunities, and love that match your energy. The moment you begin to truly understand your own value is the moment everything around you starts to shift. People can feel energy that comes from self-respect. It doesn't have to be loud or flashy. It just needs to be authentic. When you walk into a room knowing who you are, not in arrogance, but in quiet confidence, people notice. They treat you differently, they speak to you differently, and they respond to you with a different level of seriousness. That's not a coincidence. It's alignment. The way you carry yourself sets the tone for the way the world responds to you. You don't have to demand respect when you walk in it every day. You don't have to beg for opportunities when you become the kind of person who's ready to receive them. It all begins with the belief that you are worthy of good things, of love, of respect, of success. Not because of what you do for others, but because of who you are. Once you understand that, you stop settling. You stop applying for jobs that undervalue your skills. You stop staying in relationships that hurt more than they heal. You stop entertaining conversations that leave you drained. You don't have to announce this change to the world. You just start choosing better, and everything that isn't in alignment with your self-worth starts to naturally fall away. Opportunities don't just come to the most talented or the most educated. They come to those who believe they are capable. The people who show up prepared, who speak with clarity, who walk with purpose, those are the ones who doors open for. When you value yourself, you start saying yes to things that scare you because you know you deserve growth. You stop talking yourself out of your own potential. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. Instead, you rise. You speak with vision. You take risks. And the universe responds to that kind of energy. Love, too, shifts when your self-worth rises. You no longer fall for potential. You no longer confuse attention with affection. You stop needing constant reassurance because you've already given yourself the love you used to beg for. You attract partners who recognize your strength, who match your effort, and who don't see your boundaries as a threat, but as a sign of emotional maturity. You no longer accept bare minimum. You no longer chase people who don't see your value. Love becomes mutual. Respect becomes mutual. You start building relationships from a place of wholeness, not desperation. Self-worth also protects you. It helps you say no without guilt. It helps you walk away when you're not being treated right. It helps you wait for the right timing instead of settling out of fear. It keeps you grounded when the world gets loud. And that kind of inner stability is magnetic. People are drawn to those who don't need external validation. People are drawn to peace. And when you carry that peace inside you, you become the kind of person others want to follow, trust, and invest in. There's something powerful about knowing your worth. It silences doubt. It clears confusion. It allows you to focus on what truly matters. You stop wasting energy on things that don't grow you. You start surrounding yourself with people who remind you of your greatness, not your weaknesses. And even when challenges come, you face them with resilience because you know your value is not shaken by temporary setbacks. Your self-worth becomes the compass that guides your decisions, your relationships, your dreams. It becomes the standard for what you accept and what you no longer allow. It becomes the light that attracts exactly what belongs in your life. Stop begging to be chosen. Instead, become so valuable you can't be ignored. There's a major shift in life when you stop waiting around for someone to see your worth and start focusing on becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to convince anyone of it. Begging to be chosen, whether in relationships, friendships, work, or any area of life, comes from a place of scarcity, from the fear that you're not enough on your own. But when you operate from that space, you attract people who think they're doing you a favor by simply giving you their attention. You begin to lower your standards just to feel seen. And that's when you start accepting crumbs instead of holding out for what you truly deserve. The truth is, people respect what they don't have easy access to. When you're constantly proving yourself, explaining yourself, and chasing validation, you actually lower your own value in the eyes of others. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how kind you are, or how much you give. If you're handing yourself over too easily to people who don't value you, you're teaching them that you don't value yourself. But the moment you stop seeking approval and start building yourself from the inside out, everything begins to shift. You move from being someone who needs to be chosen to someone who is already complete. And that energy, that mindset is impossible to ignore. Becoming valuable doesn't mean changing who you are to fit someone else's idea of success or beauty or worth. It means becoming deeply rooted in your purpose, your growth, your character. It means getting so focused on your own journey that you no longer have time to wonder who likes you or who approves of you. It means investing in your skills, protecting your peace, and walking in alignment with your principles. You work in silence, improve in private, and let your progress speak for itself. That's the type of value that draws the right people and repels the wrong ones. When you become valuable, opportunities start to seek you out. People begin to notice your consistency, your strength, your vision. You're no longer overlooked because you become undeniable. There's no need to compete or compare because you've created your own lane. That's the power of not begging to be chosen. You stop showing up in spaces where you're tolerated and start creating spaces where you're celebrated. You learn to say no to offers that don't align with your worth, even if they're tempting in the moment. You understand that what's meant for you will find you when you've done the work to become ready for it. There's a confidence that comes from knowing you don't need to beg for a seat at any table. You either get invited with honor or you build your own table. You no longer fear rejection because you've realized that rejection doesn't define your value. It simply redirects you toward something better, something that matches the version of you that you've been building. You stop wasting energy convincing others and start pouring that energy into becoming so good, so consistent, so whole that you're no longer an option. They either meet you at your level or get left behind. The most powerful people don't chase, they attract. And attraction is the natural result of becoming valuable. When you become valuable, you stop needing permission to take up space. You stop needing applause to keep going. You're fueled by purpose, not praise. You know what you bring to the table, and you're not afraid to sit alone until the right people come along. That's when real alignment happens. That's when real love, real opportunities, real friendships start flowing into your life, not because you begged to be seen, but because you became impossible to overlook. The way you talk to yourself sets the tone for your whole life. Every single day there's a voice inside your head narrating your story, shaping your beliefs, and building the foundation of your self-worth. That voice, your self-talk, can either be your greatest enemy or your strongest ally. Most people go through life without realizing how powerful that inner dialogue really is. They speak to themselves with doubt, criticism, and fear, then wonder why their confidence is missing, why their motivation fades, or why they feel stuck. It's not always the world holding them back. It's often the words they whisper to themselves when no one else is around. When your inner voice is filled with negativity, it becomes impossible to build a life rooted in peace, growth, or confidence. You can't expect to flourish when you constantly tear yourself down from the inside out. What you repeatedly say to yourself creates patterns, and those patterns become beliefs. If you constantly tell yourself you're not good enough, eventually you start to behave in ways that reflect that belief. You'll sabotage opportunities, avoid taking risks, and settle for less than you deserve, not because you're incapable, but because you convince yourself that's all you're worth. On the flip side, if your self-talk is empowering, kind, and encouraging, you begin to walk through life with a sense of clarity and strength. You start to take chances, speak up for yourself, and push past limits, not because everything is perfect, but because you believe you're capable of handling whatever comes your way. Many people were never taught how to speak to themselves with love. They picked up negative inner narratives from childhood, toxic relationships, failures, or painful experiences. Those old tapes play in the background, repeating the same messages over and over. You're not enough. You'll never change. You always mess things up. But those words are not truth. They're echoes of the past. And unless you choose to replace them with new, truthful, empowering thoughts, they'll keep shaping your future without your permission. The only way to change your outer world is to first change the conversation with them. You have to become aware of what you're saying to yourself, especially in the quiet moments when no one else can hear. Positive self-talk doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is okay when it's not. It means choosing to speak from a place of hope, truth, and possibility rather than fear and defeat. It means saying, this is hard, but I can handle it, instead of, this always happens to me. It means telling yourself, I'm learning, instead of, I always fail. Your words create your world. They either build you up or break you down. And the tone you use with yourself sets the tone for how others will treat you as well. When you talk to yourself with confidence and self-respect, you naturally start attracting people who treat you the same way. You start showing up differently in your career, in your relationships, in your goals, because your internal foundation is no longer weak or filled with doubt. The way you speak to yourself in the dark moments is especially important. It's easy to be positive when everything is going well, but the real test of self-love comes when things fall apart. That's when your inner voice becomes either a weapon or a shield. If you can learn to speak kindly to yourself during failure, rejection, heartbreak, and disappointment, you become unstoppable. You become someone who can weather any storm because your foundation is rooted in truth and compassion. That's the kind of strength that can't be taken away, and it all starts with the words you choose when you look in the mirror, when you face a challenge, when you make a mistake. Those words have power. They shape how you feel, how you act, and what you believe is possible. They are the seeds of your future, planted in the soil of your thoughts every single day. Confidence isn't arrogance. It's knowing you're worthy without needing approval. You no longer base your value on how others see you or whether they like you. You stop living for validation, and instead you live in alignment with who you really are. That's the power of knowing your worth. It liberates you from the constant pressure to perform for others. Confidence is not about being better than anyone else. It's about understanding that you have value just as you are, without comparison, without competition, and without apology. When you know your worth, you no longer seek permission to shine. You no longer wait for someone to give you the green light to go after your dreams or speak your truth. You move differently because you're not operating from insecurity or fear. You're not trying to gain approval. You're expressing your authenticity. That inner knowing gives you a sense of peace and clarity that no amount of external praise could ever replace. You become grounded in who you are, and that grounding becomes unshakable. The reason most people struggle with confidence is because they've been taught to look outside of themselves for validation. From a young age, we're told to seek approval from parents, teachers, friends, social media, and society at large. But external approval is a moving target. One day people cheer for you, and the next day they criticize you. If your self-worth is tied to the opinions of others, you'll ride an emotional roller coaster your whole life. True confidence is built when you decide to stop outsourcing your value and start claiming it from within. It means standing tall even when no one is clapping. It means believing in your own voice even when others doubt you. It means showing up for yourself, whether or not anyone else shows up for you. Confidence also changes the way you handle failure and rejection. When your sense of self is strong, you no longer take every setback personally. You don't crumble under criticism or lose your identity when things don't go your way. Instead, you learn, you adjust, and you keep moving forward because you know one moment doesn't define your worth. You know that rejection is redirection and failure is part of growth. Confidence allows you to be resilient, not because life is easy, but because you know you can handle hard things. That resilience becomes your foundation. It gives you the courage to take risks, to dream big, to step outside your comfort zone, not because you're guaranteed to win, but because you know you're worthy of triumph. When you walk into a room with confidence, people feel it before you say a word. It's in your posture, your energy, your presence. You don't need to be loud. You don't need to dominate the conversation. You just need to own who you are. That kind of presence can't be fake. It's earned through self-reflection, through overcoming doubt, and through consistently showing up for yourself even when no one else does. Confidence is a quiet power. It doesn't need to prove, impress, or perform. It simply knows. And when you carry that kind of knowing inside you, the world responds in kind. You start attracting relationships, opportunities, and experiences that reflect the respect you have for yourself. You stop settling for situations that don't honor your worth because you finally recognize that you are enough just as you are. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that might make you uncomfortable, but it just might change your life. 2026 is not just another year on the calendar. It is the year you decide to stop talking about change and finally become it. Not next month, not next year, not when things feel right. Right now. See, too many people walk into a new year with old habits, old fears, and the same excuses. They want new results, but they keep repeating the same behaviors. That don't work. If you want 2026 to be different, you have to be different. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to push you. This year is going to respond to what you do, not what you wish. People keep waiting on luck like it's going to knock on their door one morning and say, "Today is your day." But let me tell you something real. Luck is overrated. Luck didn't build anything meaningful. Decisions did. The truth is 2026 is not going to change your life just because the number on the calendar changed. It will only change if you make different decisions than the ones you made before. Every life you admire is the result of a series of hard, uncomfortable, intentional decisions made when it would have been easier to quit. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they keep choosing comfort over growth. Every day, you are deciding something, whether you realize it or not. You are deciding to wake up early or hit snooze. You are deciding to work on your dream or scroll through someone else's success. You are deciding to save money or waste it. You are deciding to discipline yourself or make another excuse. These small decisions look harmless in the moment, but stacked over time, they shape your entire future. See, people like to blame their situation. They blame where they were born, who raised them, what they don't have, who didn't help them. But at some point, you have to stop pointing fingers and start taking ownership. Ownership is power. The moment you accept that your life is the result of your decisions, you also accept that your life can change the moment your decisions change. That's freedom. 2026 will test you. It's going to ask you who you really are when nobody is watching. When you're tired, when you're discouraged, when results are slow, and in those moments you won't rise to your goals, you'll fall to the level of your decisions. If your decisions are weak, your results will be weak. If your decisions are strong, consistent, and disciplined, your results will eventually catch up. A lot of people say they want success, but their decisions don't match that statement. They want success, but they avoid discomfort. They want growth, but they hate sacrifice. They want change, but they refuse to change their habits. You cannot keep choosing the same behaviors and expect a different outcome. That's not faith. That's fantasy. Decision-making is where your future is born. One decision can change everything. The decision to walk away from what's holding you back. The decision to stop entertaining negativity. The decision to invest in yourself. The decision to keep going when quitting feels justified. These are the decisions that don't make headlines, but they make destinies. And let me tell you something else. Good decisions are rarely easy. If it was easy, everybody would be successful. The right decision usually feels heavy. It comes with fear. It comes with doubt. It comes with uncertainty. But fear doesn't mean you're wrong. Fear often means you're standing at the edge of growth. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward anyway. In 2026, you're going to have to decide who you're becoming. Not who you used to be, not who people expect you to be. Who you are committed to becoming. That decision will require you to say no to things you used to say yes to. It will require you to walk alone sometimes. It will require you to delay gratification. But delayed gratification is the down payment on greatness. Your decisions also determine your standards. What you tolerate becomes your lifestyle. If you tolerate laziness, excuses, and mediocrity, that's exactly what your life will reflect. But the moment you decide that certain behaviors are no longer acceptable, your life begins to upgrade. You don't rise by wishing. You rise by deciding. Stop waiting for clarity before you act. Clarity comes after commitment. Most people want a guarantee before they move, but life doesn't work like that. You decide first, then the path reveals itself. Confidence is built by keeping promises to yourself. Every time you make a decision and honor it, you strengthen your self-respect. Every time you break it, you weaken your belief in yourself. 2026 is your opportunity to decide differently. Decide to be disciplined instead of emotional. Decide to be consistent instead of intense. Decide to be patient instead of impulsive. Decide to grow instead of complain. Your future is not hidden. It is being written daily by the decisions you make when no one is forcing you to choose better. Most people think motivation is the secret ingredient to success. They wait to feel ready, inspired, or confident before they take action. But feelings are unreliable. Motivation comes and goes. One day you feel unstoppable. The next day you don't feel like doing anything at all. If your progress depends on how you feel, your life will always move in circles. That's why discipline matters more than motivation, especially in 2026. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It's waking up early when your bed feels too comfortable. It's working on your goals when nobody is watching, applauding, or encouraging you. It's choosing long-term growth over short-term pleasure. Motivation is emotional, but discipline is a decision. And decisions, when repeated daily, become habits. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Successful people are not more motivated than you. They are more disciplined. They have trained themselves to act regardless of mood. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They move when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable. That's why they win when others quit. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build. And you build it by doing small, uncomfortable things consistently. Not big dramatic actions once in a while, but simple actions done every single day. Reading 10 pages. Exercising for 20 minutes, practicing your skill when you're tired, showing up on time, keeping your word to yourself. These small acts don't look impressive, but over time, they compound into extraordinary results. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with discipline is because they keep negotiating with themselves. They say, "I'll start tomorrow," "I'll do it later," or "I deserve a break." And sometimes rest is necessary, but most of the time it's just disguised laziness. Every time you negotiate with weakness, weakness wins. Discipline means removing the option to quit. It means deciding in advance what you will do, no matter how you feel. In 2026, you're going to have days when motivation is nowhere to be found, days when progress feels slow, days when quitting feels justified. Those are the days that define you. Anybody can show up when they feel good. Very few people can show up when they don't. That's the difference between average and exceptional. Discipline also protects you from self-sabotage. When you're disciplined, you don't rely on willpower alone. You create systems. You structure your environment so that good decisions become easier and bad decisions become harder. You plan your day instead of reacting to it. You set boundaries instead of making excuses. Discipline is not about being harsh with yourself. It's about being honest with yourself. A disciplined life creates confidence. Not the loud kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind. The kind that comes from knowing you can trust yourself. When you say you're going to do something and you do it, your self-belief grows. When you consistently break promises to yourself, your confidence erodes. Discipline rebuilds that trust. People often think discipline will limit their freedom, but the opposite is true. Discipline creates freedom. Financial discipline gives you options. Physical discipline gives you energy. Mental discipline gives you peace. Emotional discipline gives you stability. The more disciplined you become, the more control you have over your life. In 2026, discipline will require you to let go of instant gratification. Social media, entertainment, comfort, and distractions will constantly pull at you. The world rewards distraction, but success rewards focus. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right things consistently. Discipline is choosing what matters most and protecting it at all costs. There will be moments when nobody notices your effort, when it feels like your work doesn't matter. But discipline doesn't work on applause, it works on accumulation. Every disciplined action is a deposit into your future. You may not see the results immediately, but they are being stored, quietly growing. The people who win in 2026 won't be the loudest or the luckiest. They will be the most disciplined. The ones who kept going when it was boring. The ones who stayed committed when it was hard. The ones who understood that discipline is not a punishment. It's the bridge between who you are now and who you are capable of becoming. Fear has stopped more people than failure ever could. Failure teaches, but fear paralyzes. Fear keeps you standing still, overthinking, waiting for the perfect moment that never comes. It whispers lies that sound like logic. It tells you you're not ready, not good enough, not experienced enough. And if you listen to it long enough, you'll stay exactly where you are while time keeps moving forward without you. The truth is, fear will never disappear. Not when you start. Not when you grow. Not even when you succeed. Fear shows up whenever you step into unfamiliar territory. That's how you know you're on the edge of something meaningful. Comfort feels safe, but it never leads anywhere new. Growth requires you to walk into rooms where you don't feel qualified yet and trust that you'll figure it out along the way. Most people wait for confidence before they take action. But confidence is not a prerequisite, it's a result. You don't become confident and then move, you move, and confidence follows. Every time you do something scared, you prove to yourself that fear doesn't control you. And every small win builds momentum. Courage is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Fear often disguises itself as preparation. People say they're researching, planning, or waiting for the right time, but deep down, they're just afraid to start. Preparation has a purpose, but endless preparation is just procrastination wearing a mask. At some point, you have to step out, even if the plan isn't perfect. Clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. One of the biggest fears people carry is the fear of judgment. The fear of being talked about, laughed at, misunderstood, or criticized. But let me tell you something, real people are going to talk whether you try or whether you don't. They'll criticize your attempts and your inaction. So you might as well do something worth talking about. You cannot build a meaningful life while trying to please everyone. Fear also shows up when you start outgrowing your current environment. When you decide to think bigger, act differently, or aim higher, not everyone will understand. Some people will question you. Some will doubt you. Some will feel uncomfortable because your growth reminds them of what they're not doing. That resistance is not a sign to stop, it's a sign you're changing. Another fear that holds people back is the fear of failure. But failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of it. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than most people have tried. Failure is feedback. It shows you what works and what doesn't. The only real failure is quitting or never starting at all. In 2026, you're going to have to stop letting fear make decisions for you. Fear is a terrible leader. It always chooses safety over progress. It keeps you small, quiet, and comfortable. But comfort doesn't build confidence, and safety doesn't build strength. Growth demands risk. There will be moments when your heart is racing and your mind is screaming to turn back. That's when you lean in. That's when you remind yourself why you started. Fear loses power the moment you act. It doesn't disappear, but it no longer controls you. Faith plays a powerful role here. Faith is believing before seeing. It's stepping forward without guarantees. It's trusting that if you do your part, the path will open. Fear focuses on what could go wrong. Faith focuses on what could go right. And in 2026, you have to decide which voice you're going to listen to. Fear will tell you to wait until you're ready. Faith will tell you you're ready because you decided to start. Fear will point out every obstacle. Faith will remind you of your ability to adapt. You don't need to know every step. You just need to take the next one. Every breakthrough in your life will require you to do something that scares you. Speak up, show up. Try again, bet on yourself. Fear will always be there, but it doesn't get to drive. You drive. And the moment you stop letting fear decide your direction, you step into a version of yourself that has been waiting for you all along. Your habits are quietly shaping your future every single day. Whether you pay attention to them or not, they don't announce themselves. They don't demand recognition. They simply repeat day after day, building the life you wake up to. That's why habits are more powerful than goals. Goals are what you hope for, but habits are what you live. In 2026, if you want real change, you're going to have to stop focusing only on big dreams and start focusing on small daily behaviors. Most people underestimate the power of consistency. They think success comes from massive effort done once in a while. But life doesn't work like that. Success comes from ordinary actions done repeatedly. What you do when no one is watching matters more than what you do when everyone is watching. Your daily routine is your real RA. Bad habits don't ruin your life overnight. They slowly wear you down, skipping responsibility here, making excuses there, choosing comfort again and again. It feels harmless in the moment, but over time, those choices compound into regret. Good habits work the same way, just in the opposite direction. They may feel insignificant at first, but they build momentum. They create progress that becomes impossible to ignore. One of the reasons people struggle to change their habits is because they aim too big too fast. They try to change everything at once, get overwhelmed, and then quit. Real transformation doesn't happen through dramatic overhauls. It happens through small, sustainable changes. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. Your habits also reflect your identity. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your habits. If you see yourself as someone who quits when it gets hard, your habits will match that belief. But when you begin to see yourself as disciplined, focused, and committed, your actions start to align. Identity drives behavior. Change how you see yourself and your habits will follow. In 2026, you're going to have to take an honest look at what you do every day. How you start your mornings, how you use your time, who you listen to, what you consume mentally. Information, conversations, entertainment, they all shape your thinking. And your thinking shapes your actions. If you keep feeding your mind junk, you can't expect your life to produce quality results. Good habits create structure. Structure creates stability, and stability creates freedom. When your life has structure, you don't rely on willpower. You don't wake up every day wondering what you should do. Your habits guide you, even on days when motivation is low. That's how progress continues even when energy is gone. Another powerful truth about habits is that they either work for you or against you. There is no neutral. Every habit is either moving you closer to your future or keeping you stuck in your past. The key is awareness. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. Once you become aware of your patterns, you regain control. Habits also influence your environment, and your environment influences your habits. If your surroundings make bad habits easy and good habits hard, you're setting yourself up to fail. In 2026, design your environment with intention. Put reminders of your goals where you can see them. Remove distractions that steal your focus. Surround yourself with people whose habits push you higher, not pull you lower. People often wait for motivation to build habits, but habits create motivation. Action comes first, momentum follows. The hardest part is starting. But once a habit becomes part of your routine, it no longer feels like effort. It feels like who you are. Your future self is being built right now by the habits you practice today. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Today. Every small choice matters. Every repeated action counts. If you want a different life in 2026, don't just set new goals. Build new habits that make that life inevitable. Consistency is the quiet force behind every meaningful success. It doesn't look exciting. It doesn't create instant results. Most people overlook it because it doesn't give quick rewards. But consistency is what separates people who start from people who finish. In 2026, talent will matter less than consistency. Intelligence will matter less than consistency. Even motivation will matter less than consistency. Many people begin strong. They feel inspired at the start of the year, the start of a project, or the start of a new goal. Energy is high, confidence is high, and commitment feels easy. But when the excitement fades and reality sets in, most people slow down or stop altogether. Consistency is what keeps you moving when the feelings disappear. The problem is, people want visible progress immediately. They want proof that their effort is working. But real growth is often invisible in the beginning. Like planting a seed, you don't see anything at first, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Consistency requires patience. It asks you to trust the process before the results show up. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing intensity with consistency. They go all in for a short period, burn out, and then disappear. Success doesn't require extreme effort for a short time. It requires reasonable effort for a long time. Showing up every day matters more than showing up once in a big way. Consistency also builds resilience. When you keep going through setbacks, delays, and disappointments, you develop mental toughness. You stop being easily discouraged. You learn how to adjust instead of quit. Every time you choose to continue, even when progress feels slow, you strengthen your ability to endure. There will be days in 2026 when your effort feels pointless. Days when no one notices. Days when it feels like you're putting in work but going nowhere. Those days are not wasted. Those are the days consistency is doing its most important work. It's building character. It's building discipline. It's building a foundation that won't collapse when pressure comes. Consistency also eliminates excuses. When something becomes part of your routine, you stop debating whether or not to do it. You don't rely on motivation. You rely on commitment. That commitment frees up mental energy. You stop overthinking and start executing. Another powerful aspect of consistency is that it compounds. Small actions done repeatedly create massive results over time. One workout won't change your body. 1 hour of learning won't change your skill level. One good decision won't change your life. But repeated daily, these actions transform everything. People often quit too early because they underestimate how close they are to a breakthrough. Progress is rarely linear. Growth comes in waves. Consistency keeps you in the game long enough to catch that wave. The moment you quit could be the moment before everything changes. Consistency also shapes identity. When you consistently act in alignment with your goals, you begin to see yourself differently. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. That identity shift is powerful. Once you believe you are consistent, your actions naturally follow. In 2026, you're going to face distractions. Social media, comfort, opinions, and comparison will constantly pull at your attention. Consistency requires focus. It requires you to decide what matters most and protect it daily. You don't need to do everything. You need to do the right things repeatedly. Even on your worst days, consistency matters. Showing up at 50% is better than not showing up at all. Progress doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. Some days you will move fast. Other days you will move slow. What matters is that you keep moving. Consistency is not loud. It doesn't announce itself. But over time, it produces results that speak for you. In 2026, if you commit to showing up every day, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when it's thankless, you will look back and realize that consistency didn't just change your results. It changed who you are. Faith without action is just hope, and hope alone will not build the life you want. Faith becomes powerful only when it is backed by effort, discipline, and persistence. In 2026, believing is not enough. Visualizing is not enough. Wanting it badly is not enough. You must move. You must work. You must act even when the outcome is uncertain. Many people misunderstand faith. They think faith means waiting for signs, waiting for perfect timing, or waiting for confidence to appear. Real faith means stepping forward before everything makes sense. It means trusting that the net will appear after you jump. If you wait until you feel ready, you may never move at all. Action is what activates faith. When you take action, even small action, you send a signal to yourself that you believe in your future. Action shifts your mindset from wishing to building. It replaces doubt with experience. Every step you take, no matter how small, strengthens your belief that progress is possible. In 2026, you're going to face uncertainty. You won't have all the answers. You won't know exactly how everything will work out. That's not a flaw in the process, that is the process. Growth requires uncertainty. If everything was guaranteed, courage wouldn't be necessary. Faith steps in where certainty ends. One of the reasons people struggle to take action is because they are afraid of making the wrong move. But standing still is also a decision, and it often costs more than making a mistake. Mistakes can be corrected. Inaction creates regret. Action creates feedback. Every attempt teaches you something valuable. Faith-driven action requires patience. Results don't always show up immediately. Sometimes you plant seeds in one season and harvest in another, but that doesn't mean your effort is wasted. Progress is happening beneath the surface, even when you can't see it. Trusting the process is part of faith. Another important truth is that action builds clarity. Most people wait for clarity before they act, but clarity comes from acting. Once you start moving, the next step becomes clearer. Opportunities appear when you're in motion. Doors open for people who are already walking, not for those standing still. Faith also demands responsibility. You cannot pray for a better life while refusing to do the work required to create it. Faith doesn't replace effort, it multiplies it. When you combine belief with consistent action, you create momentum. And momentum is powerful. It carries you forward even when motivation fades. There will be times in 2026 when your actions feel insignificant, when it feels like your prayers aren't being answered, when your effort feels unnoticed. Those moments test your faith. Do you keep going when there is no immediate reward? Do you trust that what you are building matters, even when it's quiet? Faith with action also requires letting go of control. You do your part, and you trust that the rest will work out as it should. That doesn't mean you stop planning or thinking. It means you stop overthinking to the point of paralysis. You move forward with what you have where you are. Your past does not disqualify you. Your mistakes do not cancel your future. Faith allows you to believe that growth is still possible, no matter where you're starting from. But belief must be followed by action. You cannot think your way into a new life. You must behave your way into it. In 2026, faith will ask you to step out before you feel confident, to work before you see results, and to persist before you receive confirmation. That is how transformation happens. When belief and action move together, progress becomes inevitable, and the life you once only imagined starts to take form. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you for a minute, because time is having a conversation with you, whether you're listening or not. And time don't care about your excuses. A lot of people keep saying, in 26, I'm going to change. In 2026, I'm going to get serious. In 2026, I'm going to fix my life. But let me tell you something real simple. If you don't fix some things now, 2026 ain't going to be nothing but the same mess with a new calendar. See, the first thing you got to fix is your mindset. You keep waiting on the perfect moment, but the perfect moment is waiting on you. You don't need more time, you need more courage. Some of you already know what to do, you're just scared to do it. Fear will dress up like logic and wait and tell you to wait, listen to it. Growth starts the moment you decide to move even while you're afraid. A lot of people don't realize that procrastination is not a time problem, it's a mindset problem. You keep telling yourself you'll start when things calm down, when you feel ready, when the pressure eases. But life doesn't work like that. There will always be noise, distractions, bills, responsibilities, and reasons to wait. Procrastination feels harmless because it doesn't scream at you, it whispers. It tells you one more day won't hurt, one more week won't matter, one more year will be fine. But that's how dreams quietly disappear. Not in one big failure, but in small delays stacked on top of each other until the weight becomes regret. See, responsibility is the moment you stop blaming the weather, the government, your past, your parents, or your circumstances, and you finally say, this is on me. That moment is powerful because ownership gives you control. As long as you blame something outside of you, you stay stuck waiting for something outside of you to change. But the second you take responsibility, you realize you don't need permission to move forward. You don't need approval. You don't need everything to line up perfectly. You just need to decide. Most people don't fail because they can't do it. They fail because they keep waiting to feel ready. Let me tell you something, real ready is a myth. Nobody ever feels fully ready to step into something bigger. You get ready by starting. Confidence comes after action, not before it. Courage shows up once you move, not while you're sitting still thinking about moving. If you wait for the fear to go away, you'll wait forever. Fear doesn't disappear. You just get stronger than it. Taking responsibility also means being honest with yourself about your habits. Not the habits you post online, but the habits you practice when nobody's watching. The way you use your time, the way you talk to yourself, the way you avoid things that make you uncomfortable. Every excuse you repeat becomes a story you live inside of. And the longer you live inside that story, the harder it becomes to imagine a different ending. At some point, you have to stop explaining why you haven't started and start proving that you can. People love to say they're overwhelmed, but most of the time they're not overwhelmed. They're unfocused. They're not trying to do everything except the one thing that actually matters. Responsibility is choosing the hard priority over the easy distraction. It's doing the uncomfortable task before you reward yourself. It's understanding that no one is coming to save you. And instead of that being scary, you let it be empowering. When you stop procrastinating, you stop negotiating with your future. Every delay is a negotiation where your future self loses. You borrow time, energy, and peace from tomorrow so today can feel easier. But tomorrow always sends the bill. Responsibility is paying the price now so you don't pay interest later. It's saying, I'm not going to keep pushing my life to the side like it's optional. A lot of people confuse being busy with being productive. They stay busy so they don't have to face the one decision that would actually change everything. Responsibility cuts through that. It asks you one hard question. What am I avoiding and why? When you answer that honestly, you unlock momentum. Small actions done consistently beat big intentions done occasionally. You don't need a massive breakthrough. You need a daily commitment to stop lying to yourself. The truth is, nobody owes you the life you want. You owe it to yourself. And the moment you fully accept that, excuses start to sound weak in your own ears. You stop waiting for motivation and start relying on discipline. You stop asking, what if I fail? Start asking, what if I don't try? Responsibility shifts your identity. You're no longer someone who hopes things get better. You become someone who makes things better. When you choose responsibility over procrastination, your self-respect grows. You start trusting yourself again because you do what you say you'll do. And that trust changes everything. It changes how you walk, how you speak, how you show up in the world. You don't need a new year to do that. You need a new decision. And that decision doesn't start tomorrow. It starts the moment you stop waiting and finally take ownership of your life. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change the outside before they ever fix what's going on inside. They want a new year, a new job, more money, better connections, a different environment. But the truth is this, if the mindset stays the same, the results will stay the same. Your mindset is the lens through which you see opportunity, failure, effort, and growth. If that lens is cracked, everything you look at will appear distorted, no matter how good it really is. A weak mindset doesn't always look negative. Sometimes it looks comfortable. It looks like settling. It looks like saying, this is just how life is, or at least I'm doing better than some people. That kind of thinking quietly caps your potential. You stop aiming higher because you convince yourself that wanting more is unrealistic. But growth has never belonged to people who think small. It belongs to people who believe their current situation is temporary, not permanent. Your circumstances don't define you, but your interpretation of them does. Two people can go through the same struggle, and one uses it as fuel while the other uses it as an excuse. The difference isn't talent or luck. It's perspective. When you train your mind to look for lessons instead of losses, setbacks stop feeling like stop signs and start feeling like instructions. Every challenge is trying to teach you something, but you only learn if your mindset is open enough to listen. A strong mindset doesn't mean you never doubt yourself. It means you don't let doubt make decisions for you. Everybody has negative thoughts. The problem is when you let those thoughts take over the steering wheel. If you keep telling yourself you're not good enough, not ready, not smart enough, your mind will work overtime to prove you right. The brain is powerful like that. It believes what you repeatedly tell it. That's why self-talk matters more than most people realize. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your beliefs. If deep down you believe success is for other people, you'll sabotage yourself right before the breakthrough. You'll quit too early, play too safe, or avoid opportunities that require you to step up. Fixing your mindset means challenging those hidden beliefs that have been running your life in the background for years without your permission. Mindset also controls how you respond to discomfort. Growth is uncomfortable by nature. Learning something new, changing habits, standing out, being disciplined when it's easier to quit, all of that stretches you. A weak mindset looks for relief. A strong mindset looks for results. When you stop asking, how do I get comfortable? And start asking, how do I get better? Everything shifts. People who win in life aren't always the most talented, but they are the most consistent. And consistency is born in the mind. It's waking up and doing the work even when the excitement is gone. It's trusting the process even when the results are invisible. That level of patience doesn't come from motivation, it comes from belief. You believe that what you're doing today matters, even if nobody claps for it yet. Another part of fixing your mindset is letting go of comparison. Comparison will drain your confidence faster than failure ever could. When you constantly measure your progress against someone else's highlight reel, you forget that your journey is unique. You don't know their full story, their sacrifices, or their struggles. All you see is the outcome, and that incomplete picture can make you feel behind when you're actually right on time. Your mind also needs protection. Not everything deserves your attention. The content you consume, the conversations you engage in, and the people you listen to all shape how you think. If you constantly feed your mind negativity, doubt, and fear, you can't be surprised when those thoughts start living rent-free in your head. Fixing your mindset means being intentional about what you allow in, because whatever you allow in will eventually show up in your actions. When you commit to strengthening your mindset, you stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You don't crumble under pressure, you adapt. You don't give up when things get hard, you get sharper. You understand that growth is a process, not an event, and that every day is a chance to think better, act better, and become better. Once the mind is fixed, everything else has a chance to follow. A lot of people think discipline is about punishment, about forcing yourself to live a boring, restricted life, but discipline is actually about freedom. It's the freedom to choose what matters most over what feels good right now. When discipline is missing, emotions run the show. You work when you feel motivated, you quit when you feel tired, and you make decisions based on moods instead of purpose. That kind of life feels easy in the moment, but expensive in the long run. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is intentional. Motivation shows up when things are exciting, when the goal feels close, when the results are visible. Discipline shows up when none of that is present. That's why discipline is what separates people who talk about success from people who actually experience it. If you rely on motivation alone, you're building your future on something unstable. Feelings change daily. Discipline stays when feelings leave. Most people wait to feel like doing the work before they start. But disciplined people understand something different. They start first, and the feeling follows. Action creates momentum, and momentum creates motivation. The hardest part is always the beginning, not because the task is impossible, but because the mind is looking for comfort. Discipline trains you to move anyway. It teaches you to stop negotiating with yourself every time something feels uncomfortable. Discipline also means structure. Without structure, time slips away unnoticed. You don't waste a whole year at once. You waste a day at a time. One late start turns into a missed workout. One skipped responsibility turns into a habit of avoidance. Discipline brings order to chaos. It gives your day a backbone so your goals don't collapse under distractions. People often say they don't have enough time, But time is rarely the issue. The issue is priorities. Discipline forces you to be honest about what truly matters to you. If something is important, you make time for it. If it's not, you make excuses. Discipline removes the comfort of excuses by replacing them with commitment. It doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what needs to be done. Another truth about discipline is that it builds self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows. Every time you break one, your trust in yourself weakens. Over time, that internal trust determines how bold you are with your goals. People with strong discipline believe in themselves because they've proven through action that they can be relied on. Discipline also protects you from short-term temptations that sabotage long-term goals. It helps you say no to things that feel good now but cost you later. Comfort food, endless scrolling, procrastination, and distractions all offer quick relief but delayed regret. Discipline teaches you to delay gratification, to endure temporary discomfort for permanent growth. Many people confuse being strict with being disciplined. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. It means consistency. You will have off days. You will make mistakes. Discipline is about getting back on track quickly instead of quitting completely. It's understanding that progress is built through repeated effort, not flawless execution. Discipline becomes even more powerful when life gets hard, when stress hits, when problems pile up, when emotions are heavy. Discipline becomes your anchor. It keeps you moving forward when your mind wants to shut down. It gives you stability in moments where everything else feels uncertain. That's why disciplined people don't panic easily. They trust their routines, their habits, and their ability to push through. At first, discipline feels heavy because it requires effort without immediate reward. But over time, it becomes lighter because it removes chaos. The more disciplined you become, the less mental energy you waste on deciding what to do. Your habits carry you forward automatically. What once felt forced begins to feel natural. The truth is, discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build. You build it one choice at a time. One early morning, one focused hour, one decision to do the hard thing instead of the easy thing. And as discipline grows, so does your capacity to handle bigger responsibilities, bigger goals, and bigger dreams. When discipline replaces excuses, progress becomes inevitable. You stop waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect time, or the perfect conditions. You move because movement is who you are now. And that decision, repeated daily, quietly transforms your life in ways motivation alone never could. One of the hardest but most necessary parts of growth is learning how to let go of what's holding you back. Most people think their biggest problem is lack of opportunity, lack of money, or lack of support. But more often than not, the real problem is attachment. Attachment to habits that feel familiar. Attachment to people who feel comfortable. Attachment to versions of yourself that no longer fit where you're trying to go. Bad habits don't usually look dangerous at first. They look normal. They look like staying up late when you know you need rest. They look like scrolling instead of studying, talking instead of listening, planning instead of doing. Over time, those small habits quietly shape your future. You don't wake up one day far from your goals by accident. You drift there choice by choice, habit by habit. Habits are powerful because they run on autopilot. You don't think about them. You just repeat them. And what you repeat eventually becomes who you are. That's why fixing your life doesn't start with big dramatic changes. It starts with awareness. You have to be honest enough to admit which habits are stealing your time, energy, focus, and belief. If a habit keeps you comfortable but keeps you stuck, it's costing you more than you realize. People are the same way. Not everyone around you is bad, but not everyone around you is meant to grow with you. Some people are attached to the old version of you. They like you the way you were because it makes them feel safe about staying the same. When you start changing, it challenges them, And instead of growing, they may try to pull you back to who you used to be. This is where a lot of people get stuck because they confuse loyalty with self-destruction. They stay connected to environments that drain them because they don't want to feel guilty. But growth requires honesty, and honesty sometimes requires distance. You don't have to argue. You don't have to explain yourself. Sometimes the most powerful move is simply changing your behavior and letting the results speak. If you're the most focused person in a room full of distractions, you won't last long. If you're the most disciplined person in a group that avoids responsibility, your discipline will constantly be tested. Environment matters more than motivation. The people you talk to daily shape the standards you accept. If everyone around you treats average like excellence, average will start to feel enough. Letting go doesn't mean you think you're better than others. It means you're serious about becoming better than you were. Growth asks for sacrifice. Sometimes that sacrifice is comfort. Sometimes it's familiarity. Sometimes it's relationships that no longer align with where you're going. You can love people and still outgrow them. Another thing people struggle to let go of is their old identity, the story they keep telling themselves about who they are and what they can do. I'm just not disciplined. I've always been like this. People like me don't succeed. Those stories feel safe because they explain why you haven't changed. But they also trap you. You can't build a new life while repeating an old story. When you decide to cut off what's holding you back, resistance will show up. Your mind will remind you of comfort. People will question your change. Old habits will try to sneak back in when you're tired or stressed. That's normal. Growth always feels lonely at first because you're leaving what's familiar before the new becomes normal. But here's the truth most people don't talk about. Once you remove what drains you, you create space. Space for clarity, space for focus, space for new relationships, better habits, and stronger thinking. You stop fighting constant distractions, and your energy finally has somewhere productive to go. Cutting off doesn't mean your life becomes easier immediately. In fact, it often feels harder before it feels better. But what you gain is control. Control over your direction, control over your direction, control over who you're becoming. And that control is priceless. Every level of success demands a different version of you. You cannot carry everything with you into the next chapter. Some habits won't make the trip. Some people won't come along. And that's not a loss. That's alignment. When you choose growth over comfort, you're not abandoning your past. You're honoring your future. A lot of people say they want a better life, but very few are willing to invest in themselves to create it. They'll invest in clothes, phones, entertainment, and temporary pleasures, but when it comes to investing in skills, learning, faith, and self-belief, they hesitate. The truth is, your life will never rise above the level of the investment you make in yourself. You can't expect high returns from low effort. Skills are what make you valuable in any room you walk into. Passion is important, but skill is what gets you paid, respected, and trusted. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards ability. And ability is built, not wished for. Every skill you admire in someone else was developed through repetition, frustration, and time. People don't start great. They become great by staying consistent long after the excitement fades. Learning doesn't stop when school ends. In fact, real learning usually starts after. If you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you start falling behind even if you don't notice it right away. The world is changing fast, and skills that were valuable yesterday might be average tomorrow. Investing in yourself means staying curious, staying teachable, and staying willing to be a beginner again. Faith is another investment people misunderstand. Faith isn't just about believing things will magically work out. Faith is about trusting the process when the results aren't visible yet. It's about doing the work without knowing exactly how everything will turn out. Faith gives you the strength to keep moving when logic says quit. It fills the gap between effort and outcome. Belief in yourself is just as important as faith in God. If you don't believe you're capable of more, you'll never reach for more. Self-belief shapes your decisions. It determines whether you try again or give up, whether you speak up or stay silent, whether you take the risk or stay safe. Most people don't lack talent, they lack belief. And belief is built through action, not affirmation. When you invest in yourself, you also change how you value your time. You stop wasting hours on things that don't move you forward. You become more intentional with your days because you understand that time is the most expensive currency you have. Money can be replaced. Time can't. Every hour you invest in growth compounds into something greater down the road. There will be moments when investing in yourself feels lonely. While others are relaxing, you're studying. While others are comfortable, you're stretching yourself. While others are talking about dreams, you're quietly working. That loneliness is temporary. The results are not. Delayed gratification is the price of long-term success, and most people aren't willing to pay it. Another hard truth is that nobody is coming to rescue you. Mentors can guide you, opportunities can open doors, but you still have to walk through them. Investing in yourself is taking full responsibility for your growth. It's deciding that regardless of your past, your background, or your current situation, you are going to become better than you were yesterday. Self-investment also sharpens your confidence. When you know you've put in the work, you walk differently. You speak with more clarity. You don't feel the need to prove yourself because your preparation speaks for you. Confidence built on effort is unshakable because it's earned. You don't have to transform your entire life overnight. You just have to start taking yourself seriously. Read the book. Learn the skill. Build the habit. Strengthen your faith. And work on your mindset. These small investments made daily create massive change over time. The people you admire didn't get lucky. They got intentional. They decided that their future was worth the discomfort of growth. And once you make that same decision, everything begins to shift. When you invest in yourself consistently, you don't just change what you have, you change who you are. One of the biggest mistakes people make is living like time is unlimited. They act as if opportunities will always be there, as if energy will never fade, as if tomorrow is guaranteed. That mindset creates delay, and delay quietly destroys potential. Urgency is not panic. Urgency is awareness. It's understanding that life is moving forward whether you move or not. And if you don't take control now, you'll be forced to accept whatever remains later. Urgency changes how you see your days. When you truly understand that time is valuable, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You become sharper with your focus. You stop entertaining distractions that don't contribute to your growth. You realize that every hour you spend avoiding your purpose is an hour you'll never get back. That awareness doesn't make you anxious. It makes you intentional. A lack of urgency often hides behind comfort. Comfort tells you that you can start later, that there's no rush, that things are good enough for now. But comfort is dangerous because it numbs ambition. It convinces you to settle for average when you were designed for more. Urgency wakes you up. It reminds you they can become regret tomorrow if you don't keep pushing forward. People who move with urgency don't wait for perfect conditions. They understand that perfect conditions rarely exist. If you wait until everything is aligned, you'll be waiting your entire life. Urgency is acting with what you have, where you are right now. It's starting before you feel ready and trusting that clarity will come through movement. Another truth about urgency is that it brings out discipline. When something truly matters to you, you don't procrastinate on it. You don't keep pushing it to the bottom of the list. You prioritize it. Urgency forces you to stop lying to yourself about what's important. It exposes whether your goals are real or just ideas you like talking about. Urgency also changes how you respond to setbacks. Instead of giving up, you adjust. Instead of complaining, you learn. Instead of stopping, you pivot. You don't have time to feel sorry for yourself because you're focused on moving forward. That doesn't mean you ignore pain or struggle. It means you don't allow them to paralyze you. When urgency is missing, excuses feel acceptable. When urgency is present, excuses sound weak. You stop saying you're too tired, too busy, or too unsure. You understand that progress doesn't wait for comfort. It rewards effort. Urgency gives you the push to do the hard thing now, so you don't have to deal with harder consequences later. Urgency also deepens gratitude. When you value time, you value people, opportunities, and moments more. You stop taking things for granted. You show up fully because you understand that every chance is not guaranteed to repeat itself. That awareness brings a sense of presence that many people lack. Some people avoid urgency because they think it will create pressure. But pressure isn't always negative. Pressure can produce focus, clarity, and growth. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Urgency applies healthy pressure that sharpens your priorities and strips away distractions. Living with urgency doesn't mean rushing through life. It means respecting life. It means honoring your potential enough to act on it. It means understanding that the cost of waiting is often greater than the cost of trying and failing. The future doesn't reward intentions. It rewards action. And action has an expiration date. There will come a time when energy is lower, options are fewer, and regret is louder. Urgency is choosing to act before that moment arrives. When you live with urgency, your days gain purpose. Your efforts gain meaning. You stop drifting and start directing your life. You don't wait for the year to change before you do. You change now, while you still have time, strength, and opportunity on your side.